Hello, Eddie Radosevich, George Stoia on assignment here in San Antonio. Just left UTSA, George. They finally let us out of the Soonerscoop.com studios back in home base down in Norman. We are in San Antonio for the Alamo Bowl coming up on Thursday. Oklahoma's been down here since, what is that, Sunday, I believe. They were back out on the practice field today at UTSA. And George, bowl week is here, oddly enough. We getting through Christmas, obviously. Merry Christmas to everybody out there back home, but it was good to get out there for about 15-20 minutes today. As you can see now, a number of, questions that we had coming into it: who was going to travel, who was not going to be here, who is going to be here. Saw a number of new faces as well with some of the freshmen out there today at UTSA.
Yeah, I think that's probably the number one takeaway. Nigel Smith, Jaden Jackson, Michael Hawkins, Xavier Robinson, Jaden Hardy, Eli Bowen, and Wyatt Gilmore all out there today, mid-year enrollees guys. Obviously, Wyatt Gilmore broke his foot. He wasn't practicing, but the other six guys going through practice, I thought Jaden Jackson looked massive, and I knew he was a big guy.
Right.
But if you would have told me he's 17, 18-year-old kid out there, I would have not have thought that. He definitely looks the part. Nigel Smith as well. Michael Hawkins, stands out, athletic guy. Not as big as some of the other quarterbacks. He's gonna have to be in the weight room. Xavier Robinson looked good out there as well. Jaden Hardy, Eli Bowen. So getting to see some of those guys, even if it was just running around, not doing a whole lot, was interesting. Get to see how they looked compared to some of those guys that we've seen. Other than that, though, Eddie, not a lot to take away from the 15 minutes.
I thought they stretched very well today.
Yes, yeah. I do think it was interesting, watching Jackson Arnold. He's clearly the guy now. No Dylan Gabriel out there. Him kind of leading the way for the quarterbacks. He's very vocal today. I thought Seth Luttrell, working with him, you could see those two have spent a lot of time together. I think it was also interesting seeing some of the guys that did travel. Tawi Walker, look, he's in the transfer portal. He's out there practicing. I expect him to play
as is Davis Bevel, who entered the transfer portal over the weekend. And we should note that, he is the backup going into this game.
Yeah.
God forbid something were to happen to Jackson Arnold. Real quick, I want to just kind of clarify on everything. With the freshmen that are able to practice, you're able to practice now. You're able to go through it. There was a quartet of guys that did it a year ago down in Orlando. Just to clarify, they cannot play in the game.
Correct. Yeah, no, they can't play in the game. They'll participate in the bowl practices, which really today's kind of their first, their only real practice out here. I think they practice a little bit tomorrow, but today's kind of the only full speed practice.
It's kind of a weird condensed week with the game. All of a sudden you look up, the game's coming up on Thursday.
Yeah, it's already, Thursday of a practice week.
Sure.
In terms of a regular, schedule week. So, they did a lot of their practicing back in Norman. And so, those guys won't be able to play. But again, getting to see them, kind of side by side,
right.
like again, you watch Jaden Jackson, he fits right in with the DJ Terry and a Jacob Lacey and an Isaiah Coe, which is crazy. Those guys are, fifth-year, sixth-year type players in college football, and 18-year-old Jaden Jackson looks the part out there. So interesting to see those guys, but they won't be able to play in the bowl game. Look, the next step for OU, they go to SeaWorld this afternoon, swim with the dolphins. I think they have some other things tonight. I know they had a big Christmas party.
PETA will be really happy about that, won't they?
Oh, yeah, no, I free the dolphins, free Shamu. We are against SeaWorld at Sooner Scoop, right, Eddie?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I support everybody during this holiday season. As far as practice, as you said, talking about Jackson Arnold, talking about Jalil Farouk, a number of the guys that are kind of being looked at as the leaders of this program. Obviously, Danny Stutzman as well led the stretching group this afternoon.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. The guys that have said they're coming back, Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman, were two of the most vocal guys out there at practice today. Even Jalil Farouk, who's kind of sort of maybe said that he's coming back, right? He hasn't really 100% committed to it. We all think he's going to be back, but he's another guy leading the receiver room. So kind of seeing those leaders. I even thought Woody Washington, we'll see what he ends up deciding to do. He was really vocal. I thought it was a cool moment today. I don't know if you saw it, Eddie, but Eli Bowen messed up one of the individual drills. Woody Washington took him to the side, kind of showed him the ropes, which I thought was a cool moment. Who knows if Woody will be here next year, but Eli Bowen is kind of that next step in that class. So, again, kind of cool to see those guys, mixed in there together.
As far as scheduled throughout the rest of the week, obviously today on Monday here at Christmas, or on Christmas Day, rather, they went through the practice today. We will talk to some of the players, as well as Seth Luttrell for the first time, now that he's officially the play caller, the offensive coordinator for this group moving forward. We'll be able to talk to them for the first time on Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. Get to talk to Seth Luttrell for the first time. Joe John Finley, who we've spoken to, but not since he's gotten the promotion. Drake Stoops, McCade Metoyer, I think Ethan Downs and Billy Bowman are all scheduled to speak. Ted Roof as well on Tuesday afternoon, I think 3:30 at the Alamo Dome. So that'll be good to get to hear from some of those guys. I don't think Brent, though, is speaking until Wednesday. He'll do kind of a dual press conference with Jedd Fisch.
The day before press conference that everybody's kind of been, it's almost become synonymous with people that roll into that. You're usually a little hungover. There's not a whole lot going on the day before the bowl game, but everything leading up to Thursday here in San Antonio, we got the Alamo behind us, obviously. Never forget it. But we'll talk to Brent on Wednesday, and then all of a sudden you have a big Thursday and a kind of a wait and see approach for a lot of the players. As not necessarily a wait and see, but it's going to be a long day until kickoff at 8:15, I believe, here locally over at the Alamo Dome.
It feels like it's been forever since they've played, because it has been, too. And that's kind of been the weird part, going out to practice today, seeing some of the guys. It's been a while since we've seen them play. So, what's their motor look like? What's their buy-in to this type of game? It seems like it's pretty high. I mean, look, a lot of the seniors made the trip. You don't have a ton of opt-outs other than, a handful of guys. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do on the offensive line. I think Caleb Schaefer is going to start at left guard. He hasn't, played a ton this year. I think he made one start this season. You've got Troy Everett, who was practicing today, didn't practice last week. I think he'll make the start at center. And I think you're going to see some young guys rotate in. I think you're going to see Josh Bates. I think you're going to see Heath Ozeta. Some of those guys that we haven't really seen a ton of, those true freshmen, they can play. It won't hurt their red shirt. So I think you're going to see a lot of them. I think on the defensive side, you're going to see a lot of young guys, too. I think Josiah Wagner is going to get a lot of run at corner. We'll see how healthy Gentry Williams is. He was out there practicing.
Looked like Kenai Walker was going through workouts today just fine. He had been banged up since the game in Provo to end the season.
Yeah, so I think they're going to rotate a lot of guys, and that's what the bowl games really become. Unless you're in the playoff, you're kind of trying to get a lot of those young guys some reps that maybe they didn't get this season, because again, it doesn't count towards their red shirt. So it's gonna be fun. I think it's always fun, bowl games, because you can kind of play with it, and really the result doesn't matter. I mean, you want to win, right? You want to go in.
The result matters for a lot of people out there.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I think
it is going to be interesting, though, when you look at this offense and with what Jackson Arnold's kind of undertaking here, making his first start on Thursday. You got to keep a lot of things in perspective, because they are rolling out 4 new offensive linemen. You are rolling out basically something of a new offense. So I think it is going to be important to have a little perspective on where this thing is, and just as much Arizona on the other side. We'll get into a little bit of what they have to say coming up on Tuesday as well, when we hear from some of those players. The buy-in, I'm sure, is going to be there as Arizona tries to finish off what has been kind of a big turnaround under Jedd Fisch.
Yeah, they've only won 10 games in their program history. I think 3 times. So this would be the 4th time if they could beat Oklahoma. So they have a lot of motivation. Not a lot of opt-outs in the game. Not a lot of guys hitting the portal for Arizona. So I think they got up here a day earlier than Oklahoma. So this would mean a lot to them. But it's going to be interesting to see what Oklahoma does. Like you said, the offense, that's the intriguing part for me. Do you let Jackson Arnold just kind of let it loose? Do you let him air it deep? I think they're going to let him do those things. I think they're going to try and build his confidence, have a great game, so that going into next season he has some momentum. And the last thing you want, Eddie, is all off-season the narrative to be, well, is Jackson Arnold really the guy, right? And so I think that they want to go out and let him have a great game.
It's going to be really interesting. We will be right back here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel throughout the week, doing some reports, some updates from San Antonio. Should be interesting to hear from some of the players, as well as Seth Luttrell and Ted Roof on Tuesday afternoon. For George Stoia, I'm Eddie Radosevich from San Antonio on assignment. We'll talk to you next time.